spring, if I remember correctly. So, yeah.
Yes, she's awesome. She's also recently retired and had some experience working at a bike shop on the western shore of Maryland.
Right, they used to live in La Plata area of Maryland, so,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know she worked in a bike shop there.
Yeah, she's great.
Does she do sales there?
Yeah, she does sales, and she does do some group rides too.
Oh, what is that?
All women rides.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's something we're starting up. I'm going to be doing some tours, some bike tours as well.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I noticed the other day out at that little strip mall where Mr. P's is, that bike shop there has a sign out front that they are offering tours.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, that's interesting. I didn't realize that we were doing tours here on bikes.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Mm-hmm. I'll get it.
I forgot to unlock that. Hopefully that's a chip.
Let me go push the button.
I forgot to do that.
Yeah, you're okay. I didn't even think about it. I got it.
Probably not more than 15 minutes late.
Okay.
But he had to do not carpool, but he had to pick up his son to school.
Okay, cool. Good job.
Good. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
There's a couple things over there for you.
Did you get the mail that was at the inbox? Okay, I'll go get
I
that.
did not.
Yeah, I saw that. You said that I got.
Yeah, just in case you didn't have time to print it, I wanted to.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
You know Kayla?
I do.
Yeah.
Chip has the best vegetables in town.
I'm still getting them.
You are?
They're having a freezer or frost.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the tomatoes, it's not an August tomato.
Uh-huh.
It's a November tomato. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like what you get to store it and get them. Green tomatoes too.
Gosh.
Yeah, were you doing these?
Yeah, Ray Quillen did that.
Okay, because they've been in all the, I put the maps.
Okay. I haven't seen them.
Yeah, it's just, as long as you're cool with it, I don't.
Is Ray putting them in the map?
I don't know who's putting them in there. They're in there.
But does that interfere with the map, the top closing?
Not really, because he's kind of bent over. And what I do, I've been putting them in the back.
Okay.
And then they kind of just, because they're pretty flimsy.
Yeah. He didn't get approval to do that.
But again, I find he just presented it to you. And it's just recent.
Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
Everything's ready to go whenever you are done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you all vaccinated? Can I?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can we take masks off?
Kayla, are you vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
I suppose so, yes, things
I
fine.
don't even know, but you guys do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's harder to speak, but
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
And you hear me?
All right, this is the November 16th, 2021 meeting of the Lewes Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. My name is Don Long, I chair the committee. And present tonight is Chip Davis and Councilperson Tim Ritzer, as well as our IT specialist, Kayla. Only announcements I have this evening are just for those not aware, we received a few free bumper stickers from Ray Quillen. Thank you, Ray, if you're listening. We'll distribute these around town and maybe to some of the bike shops in the near future. I don't have an agenda in front of me. Can you keep that posted for me? Thank you. Oh, Bill Weller's on. Good.
Does he need to be on panel?
No.
No, okay.
Are there any other announcements? Chip, do you have any announcements from your end?
No.
Okay. Chip and I are the only members present tonight, so we will, let's go ahead and review the terms of the committee members, and we can I'll go over the term expiration dates. For myself, my term expires in January of 2022. For Bob Fisher, January of 2022. Chip Davis, I have down as January of 2024. Your term?
I wouldn't think so. I would think it would be 23.
I have 24 for you. Is
Is it
that
a
not
3 year?
correct? Did you?
Is it a 2 or 3 year?
It's 3 years.
3 year? Well,
When did you come on the committee? Because I don't recall. Was it 2018? When Mike Tyler was chair, or was it
no, I came on with you. I thought.
same time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because that's when the committee was restarted.
Right.
So I came on with you.
And how long ago was that?
So a date doesn't work because
Yeah, I would do whatever you
19,
want.
20, 21, you should be on the same time frame as I am.
Correct.
Okay.
So he's 2022 as well? Bob
Yes.
Fisher is, and you as well?
Yes, and John McGovern is January of 2023. And Mary did not serve on the committee, so,
We're looking for a replacement.
yes.
Right.
I have not heard back from Bob Fisher as to whether he wants to continue. I myself will not be continuing as chair or a member of the committee after January 1. We'll have to get clarification, Chip, on your term to find out.
I can check on that tomorrow.
Okay, Kayla will check on that and get back to both of us tomorrow. Okay, great.
It should be the same as yours, Don. 'cause
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, I couldn't remember if you had started prior to me coming on, or if it was, okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, great, thanks. We will push the approval of minutes to the next meeting because only 2 members are present. Move on to old business, the Delaware Bike Council Grant project update. E1 and E2 are actually one item, so the Bike Council Grant was submitted, and we did we can't say a walkthrough, we did a ride-through with Delaware Bicycle Committee Grant, Delaware Bicycle Council members a few weeks ago. Janet Reeves and I rode the routes and provided them answers to some of the questions they had about the grant application.
So they came and they rode with you? Is that
Yes.
how it worked?
Yes,
Really?
same route that we rode back in May. Asked questions, got clarification. We did receive a follow-up email today and I wish I had it in front of me, but it basically reads that they're looking to possibly provide, award 2 grants, and if they do that, it would reduce our funds from the requested somewhere around $20,000 to around $12,000. And don't quote me on these numbers, I'm just rounding them off. And the request in the email request sent to Janet and myself was that would the city be able to, if we were awarded the grant, would the city be able to take up the balance from the budget? And that's a question for Anne Marie or someone as they go into the next budget year. But we have to provide them an answer by December 1st.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Can you explain, I think you said something about $20,000 request, and they have said that they would be willing to fund 12, is that what they said?
It's roughly 12,000 or so, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this grant would be used to accomplish what, please?
It would be used to finish the concept and develop and implement the Lewes Loop low-stress bikeway.
Okay.
The path that we biked back in May.
Right.
I believe you were there, Chip was there.
Right.
Most of the money would go for the curb cut at Mariners.
Right.
Other funds would help with wayfinding, signage.
Right.
One of the items they said they would not fund would be the tube counter, which is basically it's like a garden hose that runs across the street to count bicycles as they cross over. They would not fund that for some reason. And that's
Is that going to be a permanent installation? Is that, or is that something that you move around the city?
You can move it around, use it to collect data
Right.
other places.
Okay.
So they rejected that item of the grant. However, they approved the curb cut and other items on the grant application. So Janet and Marie will have to get back to them, and after we discuss it tomorrow, and decide how to move forward, whether we accept the lower amount, and hopefully we're awarded that amount and we can move forward with the project if the city can then provide the additional funds, the lacking funds to make
And that
the difference.
$20,000 is based upon actual estimates for,
Yes.
work or materials and so forth, is that correct?
The curb cut itself was the estimate was somewhere around $15,000.
That's kind of hard for me to believe, but I'm not questioning you.
This is from the city engineer.
That street has not been accepted into the system. I believe I'm correct in saying that,
Yeah, they haven't finished the top coat
Right.
on that street, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe there's a year to implement the project, so there's plenty of time. So I'm saying that because if we have to look at next year's budget for that shortfall, then we certainly have enough time to make up the shortfall, implement the project after April 1. Is that the fiscal year here, April 1? Yeah, between April 1 and December 1st
Right,
of next
I see
year.
what you're saying.
Implement the project, and it's basically a curb cut and some signage.
Right, so the Bike Council would, their commitment would be good all next year, is that correct?
Yes, as long as we provide them with an answer by December 1st. The city has to provide them with an answer.
Okay, got it. Thank you for
Okay.
that explanation.
Okay, we'll move on to new business, American Legion Road, Savannah Road intersection. An item certainly on our radar for a few years now, and an area where there was a automobile and cyclist collision a couple years back. I believe a neighbor, maybe that lives on the corner, brought it to Mayor Becker's attention, and I was asked to include it in the agenda. Again, it's not the first time that we've discussed the intersection, but it's the first time that a resident has brought it to our attention. So Kayla can put up a photo. I only have one photo, I know everyone, oh, it's a terrible photo, sorry about that. Well, maybe it's just the lighting. Thank you. So I was riding the other morning and I stopped. This is coming from the wastewater treatment plant towards Savannah Road. And what I wanted to point out, just is to show that there is some signage there. Now, the signage is not consistent on the Massachusetts side, but it's consistent here where most of the bike flow is. And
Don,
if
can you help orient me?
Sure, I'm
please?
sorry.
Is
So
it-
if you're leaving the wastewater treatment plant and you're
Okay,
heading
yes.
towards Savannah Road.
Got it, now I'm with
Okay.
you. Okay.
Hazard electric.
So this is actually American Legion Road that's in the, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Which was flooded that day at the other end after that storm. So this signage is currently present, and then if you're heading northeast on Savannah Road towards this intersection or towards Lewes Beach, there's also a sign similar to this that points you in the direction of American Legion Road. So there is some signage there. It's not, I don't think it's perfect.
No.
We've long talked about how getting folks from here to the connector on Gills Neck Road, where the Lewes Georgetown Trail connects, where the old swing bridge was, that's sort of a missing piece where we need to have breadcrumbs, if you will, leading people how to,
Yeah.
people that aren't familiar with the area.
Right.
We had originally proposed, this was pre-construction, but it was too close to the date, and it wasn't considered, painting the pavement, doing a bike lane, highlighting the bike lane with a color like green, for instance, is used in the city, and actually painting the entire bike path and bike lane to get people from this point to the other point.
Wow.
It's, it's done all the time. The idea was, again, it was just pre-construction, but not enough time to incorporate it into the construction bid. So, that didn't happen. This is a constraint. This is the missing link with our trail system, and I wouldn't say it's unsafe, but it's certainly a concern, particularly the drawbridge.
Yeah, that's an accident waiting to happen. May I ask another question?
Sure.
From where you're standing taking this photo to the corner of American Legion and Savannah, how many linear feet, how many feet is that? I've been there, I know the area, but I'm just trying to, is 200 feet, you think?
A little bit less.
A little less
From the
than
sign?
Okay.
From the sign, it's a little less.
And that sign is indicating, that arrow, that bike path sign is to tell you that there's the bike path up at Savannah Road?
No, it's just to tell you how to get to downtown.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it's 200 feet away from the
I
intersection.
agree.
So it really should be, that doesn't even,
No.
no. Okay, that's another
That's
issue.
another point I wanted to make by this photo,
Well,
that it's not the
May I
best
ask
wayfinding. It's also, in my judgment, the sign is too high.
yes, exactly.
It's,
All right. Do you mind if I make note of that and see if we can do something about that?
not at all.
Okay.
Again, we're we have, Savannah Road is a state road.
Right.
City does not have the authority to put up signs without approval.
Right.
But missing this link between American Legion and the Lewes Georgetown Rail Trail connector on Gills Neck is a problem for some cyclists. There was a workshop about a year or so ago where intersections throughout the country some were chosen to be studied for solutions. Engineers were participating in this exercise, and the intersection of Savannah, Front Street, and Gills Neck was one of the intersections picked for the study. And I believe that their out-of-the-box thinking for the intersection was really something to consider. I passed the information on to Anne Marie. I believe we discussed it in one of the meetings possibly, and a few of us attended that conference virtually. There's no easy solution for the intersection or the drawbridge.
And was that when the plan came forward, the design of putting a bike lane in the middle of the bridge? Remember that idea?
That was the consideration.
Was that one of the ideas that was
to put
put
steel
forward?
panels in
Yes.
the center of the travel lane.
Right.
36-inch steel panels.
Correct.
That were And our committee decided that we would not approve that. So we did not make a recommendation to council for that.
Just to clarify, because the topic is Savannah Road and American Legion, you're looking at just signage on American Legion, Butler? Is that what you're trying to clarify?
No, I'm just presenting the problem. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I have ideas that I've thrown out, but I think there have been improvements. You know, Savannah Road was realigned 2 or 3 years ago. The original plan, concept plan for Savannah Road was rejected by this committee. Council also rejected it based on that recommendation, because you guys had both bike lanes on one side of the road. Hazards, and it creates a hazard when you get to the bridge and you have to cross over to go. Anyway, there's still a problem at the drawbridge with folks riding their bikes on the sidewalk in both directions.
Right.
On the wrong side of the road in some cases. It is, for some folks, they're fearful of riding their bikes on the drawbridge, particularly folks that have road bikes or narrow tires. I don't know what the solution is. The drawbridge has many more years of life before it's going to be replaced, is what I was told by DelDOT. So we couldn't apply something like what Rehoboth Beach has done, and it's not a fair comparison because their drawbridge is much, much wider. So we're basically just here for discussion, Chip, to answer your question.
May I ask you a question about the American Legion signage? If we did a mirror image and we were now looking towards where the swing bridge is going to be located, so we're looking southward, and is there, I have no recollection of what signage is there to direct people to the bike path that takes you up and around. Is there any signage there?
No.
Is there a need for signage?
I think it might be helpful, yes.
Okay. All right. And that would, so it would lead kind of from where the old recycling area was up and
Exactly.
around, correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank
There
you.
is no signage there. That section of the trail is managed by the city. Between there and Freeman Highway, I believe, is managed by the city. On the other side of Freeman Highway, until you get to the state park, is managed by the state park system.
I'm going to jump in here with another question, and that is, this part of the trail, does it have a name?
It's all part of the Lewes Georgetown Rail Trail?
It is all part of that?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking is that, we talk about different trails, and they have different names, and it seems to me that it might be helpful if we reinforce that name in different, at different locations throughout the trail. Because you have two different trails, and yet they come together, right? And it would be helpful. I'm a guy who kind of believes in directions and being able to, orient yourself all the time about where you are. And it would be really helpful, it seems to me, if we reinforce that naming convention with our signs. You have any reaction to that?
I agree. There needs to be improved signage for that section.
I wonder if that's part of that wayfinding, to what extent, that wayfinding project that's going on, to what extent they're covering bikes and that. I mean, I'm not sure if it was ever.
Yeah, I have not seen an example of that shown in any of, but it might be. It's possible. Do you mind if I make note of that also to discuss with? Okay.
It's a good point.
That goes back to what I talked about in the last meeting, of coordination between many different committees, so that we're all working together for the common good.
Right.
And if it's the wayfinding or Parks and Rec or whoever, so we all coordinate in this process. When everybody wants the same thing, we just
Right.
need to do it together.
Exactly.
I
Right.
don't think it's too late for that. I think they're still at the stage where they haven't picked which signs for sure are coming and going, so.
Okay, thank you for indulging me like that, yeah.
Yeah, this intersection was included in our 2021 goals as a place for pedestrian and bicycling improvements. We had proposed a silent policeman or a crosswalk sign we discussed in the last meeting at that intersection. Now, since I know in the very, I'm not sure when it was done, in the last year or so, there's been some improvements at the intersection, including a crosswalk that was installed.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I'll move on. If there's no other discussion about that intersection, we'll move on to, I believe, F2, the Savannah Road, 2nd Street crosswalk, came up by a member of the community at the last meeting. I believe his comment was that the lighting at that crosswalk was insufficient in his judgment.
Right.
So that's something, again, for the city to take a look at and see if there can be improvements. Maybe there's a light out and maybe at one point there were some lower lights that were like 3 feet high that were lighting up some of the crosswalks. I don't know what the current status is. Have you walked there?
I walk there all the time, yes. Mhm. And it was Dennis Reardon who attended our meeting, but that was brought up when the now defunct traffic committee, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and he talked about it then, and nothing's really changed. There is not a light on that post and on the pole that's there, and that's part of the problem too. That pole is so close to the roadway that to look around, and that's the issue, to look around, you literally are almost in the road.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
that's the problem, because you have the vehicles making a left-hand turn on 2nd Street, so anybody going by, it's clearing them, and it's tight.
Yeah, I think that's a guide pole, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look at that again, but.
So you don't have lighting right there. There's a light at the pole down, and there's a light at the pole, call it east, west, north, south, either way you want. There's one directly across in front of what's the Brandon and Brown, or whatever that is now. But at that pole, there isn't. But the problem is not just the lack of lighting, but the pole in itself.
Right.
Because it obscures people. And I don't know the solution if that can be removed.
The other thing is always, you made a mention of this too, where people don't even adhere to the fact that there's a crosswalk, and that's certainly one of where people will cross from Graves, directly across the street there. And I wonder if it's ever been explored to bring the crosswalk to that side of 2nd Street anyway.
Yeah.
And make that a wider kind of path across it where people are doing it anyway.
Right.
And explore doing it there.
And in fact, that would be a good thing to accomplish, because there's a turn lane onto 2nd
Exactly.
Street,
It's just-
and that creates a blind spot if you are in the through traffic lane. And that is another accident waiting to happen, because you can't see if there's a pedestrian coming across the road.
And to me, also
So-
by widening the area where people can cross, it's a cue to drivers, et cetera, that this is where people are going to be crossing here, and that it's not just your standard width.
Right.
It then becomes that whole block between Dogfish Inn and Touch of Italy there. You know,
Right.
that basically that whole, because that's.
Well, you're not going to change human behavior, you know?
If you change the width of a crosswalk, then you have people walking diagonally across the street. You need, the width of a crosswalk is engineered so it provides protection, but it also, it
Defines it.
It defines that area of the street where the pedestrians are crossing. I don't know that you could do something wider, but I like your idea of moving it to the other side of the intersection.
Right. And that would take away from that blind
It
spot.
would, and this has come up in discussion before.
Right.
And part of the problem is you have, Striper Bites has a driveway, JD Ross has a driveway, Schooner Inn has a driveway. So your permit,
Constrained there.
it's not, you can't do it at the corner because that would go
That's
directly
right.
to, so you have to move it, say, halfway down Touch of Italy. And that's like in the middle of a,
Then you get curb cut issues.
then you're in the middle of a, not a middle of a block, but
Non-conforming.
Yeah, it's not conforming, right?
Right.
we looked at that, and you can't do it from that, the easternmost corner, because there's a driveway directly across.
Are you aware, is the crosswalk sign still there?
The silent policeman? Yes, it
It's
is.
still there, okay,
Yes, it is.
because that's the only location where
Correct.
there currently is one.
Correct.
We've requested locations for these signs.
I'll have to look. I'll walk over there after this meeting.
Maybe it is.
I looked myself, I thought it was, maybe it's gone.
I thought that we had approved two others
Yeah.
to be placed as well.
Right. The hospital location, as I recall, was one up in that area, and,
Beatty Avenue?
Yeah.
right, and then I can't, where
I
was
would say
the,
the other one's on Beachside.
I can't, is that where, I can't remember the third location.
American Legion area.
Okay, that was one of
Yeah.
those, that was when we requested, we also requested at the Lewes Georgetown Rail Trail crossing at Kings. That was the other,
I'm not sure about that one.
another,
I'll have to check on that. I know there was two for sure that we.
Right, I thought there was three, but, yeah.
Anybody in Lloyd's,
What's another?
we requested that one as well.
Yeah, that might be.
I'll
the
check with
third.
Anne Marie.
so just to go back to that crosswalk right there, I don't, if you keep it where it is, the pole's the biggest issue in my opinion.
Right.
The not direct lighting would be the second part of it, and I don't know what you do or how you go about doing it.
All right. We'll move on to, under new business, item F3, digital map and guide. There's been some discussion this year about making an attempt to digitize the map and guide to make it available. I mean, it's currently available as a downloadable PDF on our website, but you have to really search for it to find the map and guide. So the idea was either to produce a QR type code that you could scan with your phone that would open up to provide all the information on the map and guide. So I think moving forward, I think that's a great goal to work for before, say, May or June of next year when we typically print the guide, map and guide. We've been printing about 10,000 copies a year.
And how much does that cost, Don?
It costs well, it depends on how many revisions we have.
Sure.
With the revisions and the printing and delivery, I think we spent over $3,000 last year on that alone.
Thank you.
Out of our budget, so.
All right.
I think, it definitely merits more discussion and some, maybe bringing in some outside sources or resources that could provide us ways to how we could do that, so.
Has the committee hasn't worked on the QR code business at all, has?
We have it ourselves. There was I don't remember who it was now, somebody maybe from Sussex Cyclists, I don't recall now. They had created a QR code from the PDF on the website and posted it at the ferry terminal for folks on bikes at the ferry terminal, so they could just, use their phone to download it. I'm not sure if that's been updated. We haven't maintained it as a committee. We haven't maintained that source or resource.
Is that ours to maintain?
No, it's not. I don't know I think it's like a bulletin board at the ferry.
Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah.
And is it out front of the ferry? Is that where this is located?
I think it was where the bike
Where
rental
the
used to
bike
be.
rack, It is out front of the terminal.
Right. Okay, I'll have to go over there and look at that then. All right, thank you.
But I'll piggyback
Who's
on that.
maintaining it, to Chip's question? Is that the Sussex Riders, or whatever you call it?
No, I don't know. I was approached 3 or 4 years ago about this, and have not, we, as a committee, haven't maintained, I don't even think we have a map and guide brochure of rack out there, do we?
Not there, no.
Okay.
No. No, but just to piggyback on what you're saying there, Don, and we did discuss it at the last meeting about digitalizing, or whatever we can do. I don't have a problem doing the maps. It's one of my walks or rides or whatever, but we're going to be going through 10,000 by early spring. Well, they'll be gone. And that's, $3,000, or if you have to do 15,000, now you're at 4,500. That's an expense, and it's something just to look at, and if there's a better way to have it do it, and everybody who's on the bike has the phones,
Yeah.
we need to, I'm not savvy in that part. I can do the brick and mortar stuff and stuffing pamphlets in a box, but
You're right, that's where it's going, right?
it is, it's already there. I mean, people do it all the time, so.
Don, do you know if the state, I don't know if it'd be Delta or what, within the state organization, would they have the technical support to help the city with this idea of the QR coding and making that a reality?
I don't know.
You know, I can check with his, Heidi had done some of that work for the public. This is again where you have the cross-pollination.
Right.
The Public Arts Committee had created some QR codes for some of the exhibits that the artists had done, and they did that, on their own, so
Right.
there must be a capability to do it.
Right.
A QR code is free. You can do that yourself.
Sure.
Basically, well, you know how to do it. You just load up a link.
Right.
But the link has to be updated occasionally on the city website to make sure that it continues to work. I believe the city would allow that. That's
And
something
then we
have
would
to
also
approve,
have to actually get the QR on the post or wherever we're going
Yes,
to put it.
yeah.
That's the part.
And
Where they basically created these metal plates that went along with the exhibit. So to Don's point, you'd put them where Chip's been dropping off the maps.
Correct.
You'd have a QR code and say, download this for the
Right,
mobile.
so if we are doing-
Create the mobile app first, though, that's the...
Right, but so we can
technical
do
part.
this in-house. We don't have to hire a consultant to do
For the
this.
QR code part, for the
Correct.
developing the app,
I
to Don's point,
bet you
that's the
that-
part that you're going to need some IT.
I bet you I know somebody who can help with
Yeah.
that. Okay, good.
Great. Now all you have to do is go around and shine the little metal signs. All right, great discussion. Now let's move on to the last item, e-bikes. This has been on the agenda before. There was a request to include it in tonight's agenda. I guess for additional clarification, I printed out a handout that I provided at the other meeting when we had this discussion. This is just to provide a quick overview and code language at the bottom from the Delaware Online Code, Title 21, that provides you with, at the very bottom, an actual definition of what a bicycle is. And it shows you that there is a limitation to, it doesn't say Class 1, but Class 1 e-bikes are 750 watts, or equals 1 horsepower, with a maximum speed of 20 miles per hour. Now, there's Class 2 and Class 3 e-bikes being sold in Lewes right now that go 28 to 30 miles per hour. Now, if you've encountered an e-bike on the trail, whether walking or riding a bike, that is very fast to encounter
I know.
going that fast.
Did you say 28 to 30 miles
Is
an
it
hour?
Class 3?
What is Class 2? What is its range?
I'm not sure exactly, somewhere between 20 and 28.
Okay.
It's funny you brought this up because I have a friend who's about 25 years old and said, he was scared at his age, because those things are frightening on the trails, but to what extent, can they be policed,
The question I would have also is, were these trails designed for motorized vehicles traveling at that speed, those
You
speeds?
found something where they're supposed to only be going 11 miles an hour.
Yeah, I thought we talked.
12.
Yeah.
12.
That's what's posted on the Lewes Georgetown Rail Trail. It's 12 miles per hour is the maximum speed.
Okay, well, how does that fit into motorized, what do you call these? Motorized bike, electric
Well, you
motor?
could use it as long as you're going less than 12 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Who's regulating that?
yeah, exactly. Who's enforcing this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Officer Boyer at the meeting? Do you know? Maybe he could weigh in. No, he's not here. Oh. No. I don't know if anyone's enforcing it. Buy a bike.
And the ones that go 28 plus, they don't need a license plate. They're not like a moped as such.
No, they don't want that. So an e-bike, by definition, they have to be pedal assist, meaning you have to pedal them, and you can adjust the assistance. There's usually 3 levels of assistance. So the more you pedal, so if you're level 1, it's providing you a minimal amount of assistance. If you're level 3, it's providing you that much more assistance, so you're pedaling less. There's no throttle. The motor's typically either in the rear hub or it's in the crank. But you have to, it's a pedal assist. It's not like a motorcycle where you're turning a throttle.
Well,
Those are completely illegal on the trails.
Right.
Anything that's motorized.
is it possible to pedal and then stop pedaling and the
Yes.
motor is still capable of carrying you
Yes.
forward, right?
Absolutely.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah, because, okay.
And if you've ever ridden one, you'll probably never go back to riding a regular bike again.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're pretty easy. I mean, pretty fun. You don't get much exercise, but it's kind of a cool. Try it out.
I was the one who requested to put that on, and I spoke about it last time at the very end, so we get it on the agenda. And they are, again, I foresee them being a wave of the future even more. And I spoke about this probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm certainly not opposed to them. I think it's great. But I just don't know if Lewes is ready for that many e-bikes.
I know.
Because it's unbelievable.
Like from, like a bike, would a standard bike rack accommodate one, given the width of them? Or are there's no issue there?
Tires are wider, but other.
Well, I mean, overall, they're more dimensional though, Don.
They're beefy. They're very
They're
beefy,
beefy, yeah, so it's not a 10-speed with a, your typical
And
swing
with the battery,
battery.
I mean, the bikes probably weigh 50 pounds, so they're really heavy.
And how far can you ride this 50-pound bike?
Depends on the quality of the battery.
Right.
Typically, I would say 40 miles. Some of them have an 80-mile range.
So, Coach, are you suggesting that if they're coming and they're going to be the wave of the future, that we should then as a city look to accommodate rather than sort of regulate what's going on trails, is to accommodate and make different, say, fast and slow lanes, for example, on the trails, or like, what do you?
I'm not exactly sure. I just see, based on what I saw this year, the amount increase, and I did talk to all 3, Lewes Cycle, Sebring, and Pedigo, and they would have all sold more had they been able to get them.
Oh, wow.
So it's a supply thing, and I would have bet that's across the country that they're backlogged. Because I was talking to, I was the day I saw Don down there, and they can't get them. Now, it was the 20 inches that they had that I was looking at. He says, we can't get them, and don't know when we'll be able to get them. So I'm looking at all aspects of it, Andy, that they're out there. I mean, on a bicycle right now, just a regular standard bicycle, when the ferry traffic hits and people are leaving the beach, I can go from my house, which is right across the street, to Crooked Hammock faster than a vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to sit through 6 or 8 light changes. And a bicycle or an e-bike just right down the side. And that's not even going down the trail, that's just shooting down Kings
And
Highway.
that's a traditional bike.
That's not a traditional bicycle. On an e-bike, it's, you know,
I'll share an anecdote with y'all. Several weeks ago, I happened to be at the Rite Aid adjacent to BB. And I was walking into the store, and there was a couple there who had their e-bikes. And they were getting ready to start their ride. And so I struck up a conversation to learn about their e-bikes. The folks live in Delaware, not in Lewes, but not too far away, and they were exclaiming how wonderful the trails are and how much they enjoy riding them. And I used the opportunity to remind them that in Delaware, that what the law is with respect to how you travel across roads and so forth, and they were absolutely clueless that what the rules, the laws of the road are. And I can't, and these were middle-aged or older people, and people who had done their research about buying their bikes and so forth, and because they told me all about their research, and yet their awareness of what the rules of the road are were completely deficient. They had no idea, that what they needed to do to operate the bike safely. And that's troubling to me, especially when you think about people who are on e-bikes traveling as fast as 28 miles an hour.
How about people on boats?
On boats?
Oh, yeah, those,
Well, they're not on our bike trails, are they?
I think you're speaking to the fact that they don't have much training.
yeah, exactly.
Or is it required to have much training if you operate a boat?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the same, like they just have this equipment and they don't seek training or,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just foresee a large amount of e-bikes coming into town, and do we do anything to really accommodate them? I don't see that. I don't know where you can. If you can do something down at Canal Park, if people are going to go there and use it,
Do you see the need for charging stations for these?
I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, most people are going to be able to go get home and back, come to Lewis and back.
Oh, so the pedaling doesn't generate
Okay.
the power of the
If
not regenerative.
you're using your power solely, you're going to run your battery down quicker.
Okay.
If you're pedaling more, it's going to last longer.
And these bikes just run off of, you plug them into a 120 volt outlet?
Yep. I mean, that's a great thought for anybody. Feasible if you were coming from Georgetown or further maybe, and you were using solely power that you might want to charge when you got here. I mean, it's something, if you're going all the way to Roosevelt Inlet.
Do you know, are there prototypes of what those kinds of bike charging stations, have you ever seen one, or do you know? Do they even exist?
Well, some bigger cities have bike lockers where you can,
Right.
if you're riding to work, you can shower, lock up your bike for the day. It's like a parking garage, basically, but it's a bike locker. I imagine there's some infrastructure there that would accommodate e-bikes because of their increased popularity.
I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think, to your point, it's something we need to keep on our radar. I'm not sure what that answer is as far as regulation or control, posting signs.
I
mean, one observation that I will make about it, and I talked about the intersection of Gill's Neck Front and Savannah, and where I did some observations before, and while many vehicles right turn around all the time, bicycles more often than not will I'm gonna say that's probably 50-50. Some will stop, half will stop, half won't. E-bikes don't.
They always get the right.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, they're coming up Gills Neck Road, and if they have an opening to get on Savannah, they're cruising.
And do you ever see them operating on sidewalks?
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
Yeah, because what happens, they're coming up, and if they can't get out on the road, then they go up on the sidewalk.
Right.
And I've sat there, and I know I'm across the bridge every day, either walking and or bicycling. It's just an observation, again, this is part of more bikes. And you can see them coming down Gills Neck Road, I mean,
They are moving.
They're moving,
Yeah, I
They're
saw
moving.
that the other day.
yeah. So, anyway, that's all I have to put on it. Oh,
If you're hit by a motor vehicle at 30 miles an hour, you're likely not to walk away from the accident. I don't know what it would be like if you were hit by an e-bike at 30.
Yeah.
Be devastating.
I mean, you're not required to have insurance, is that correct, to have an e-bike?
I don't know. No, it's
Because it's not
under-
licensed,
it's
it's
under
not tagged,
classification
it's
of a
not
bicycle.
registered.
It's under, an e-bike is classified as a bicycle in Delaware, so.
just to go on there, one final thought in today's Cape Gazette, I don't know if everybody saw a letter to the editor, and the headline is, "Powerful e-bikes should be banned from trails." And this person talks about them going up to 40 miles an hour. I don't know if that's possible or not, but it's basically talking about.
If you're less than 170 pounds, maybe.
Code would only apply to class 1 then, wouldn't it? This code, because it's limited to
it's
20 miles per
The
hour.
code is restricting it to class 1.
Correct, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So class 2 and 3 are not legal.
permitted on-
Permitted,
Right.
right.
But again, I don't know that, there's no one patrolling them.
Is it retailer, are retailers advising their buyers of that? Are they, do we know? Okay.
I don't, I mean, I work at a bike shop now, I don't think, we haven't, there's entry-level e-bikes that are class 1, and then there are higher-end e-bikes that are class 2 and 3. So I think e-bikes are being sold by all 3 bike shops at all 3 levels of classification.
Right.
The other thing is, we don't want to necessarily discourage, it's just, in a way, you want to sort of encourage these bikes. It's better than, people, a bunch of cars trying to find parking. It's easier to accommodate these bikes potentially, and certainly better for the environment.
That would correct that, and then they had the downtown business parking thing, and there was the potential idea of a parking garage. I was a strong proponent of dedicating part of that parking garage for bicycles, e-bikes, charging station, lockers, for, the whole, as part of that whole thing. Obviously, that didn't pan out, but that's one of the few, if not the only place in town that you could have done something like that. I don't know what's going on with Citizens Bank. That's probably too small.
It was sold.
It's privately owned now.
It's sold.
Yeah, it's flipped. Yeah.
Yep. But, that's why I said possibly, people are going to say, yeah, you have the bike corral down at Gills Neck and Savannah, and it's rarely used, and I agree with that.
But it's picked up a lot of traffic this year, it seems to me, just, going through that intersection with some frequency. I see more bikes in that corral than ever before.
There have been.
You're right.
There have been.
Well, maybe
Right.
this is an opportunity to put, if they require charging, make them come to use that as an area where they can charge.
would be a great
and
idea.
Force them to use it.
Yeah.
It's a potential idea, sure. Yeah,
Have to look into that. Okay.
very good.
What else do you have, Don?
That's it.
Short and sweet.
How does that feel?
Well, there's no need to make a motion to adjourn because I can't second it. So we're adjourned.
Fine deal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Don. Good job.
Here is, I'm going to leave this with you guys. This is I'll leave it with Tim.